Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this meeting. We will be starting now because we have a very tight agenda. So let me introduce you the first part of the agenda, that is the welcome. And we have different entities that have been co-organizing this meeting, and we will start with Amelia Martin, that is the Associate Director, Clinical and Transnational Research at FARMAINDUSTRIA. Amelia, please, go ahead.
Thanks, Marta. Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank you for attending this webinar. It's a pleasure for FARMAINDUSTRIA and the Spanish Technological Platform for Innovative Medicine to co-organize this Info Day session. FARMAINDUSTRIA and the Spanish Technological Platform has been committed to the promotion and outreach of the Innovative Medicine Initiative since it was launched, and now with Innovative Health Initiative. We have always aimed at increasing Spanish participation from both the public and private sector in different consortia, since we believe that the participation in this kind of consortia brings back important returns from scientific and financial aspects to the country. And this is precisely the ultimate objective of this gathering, to facilitate the participation of Spanish enterprises and centers in this important initiative. Innovative Health Initiative stands as an opportunity for all this, not only because of the economic resource, but also because it aims to reinforce the collaboration between all stakeholders, industry, public authorities, including regulators, patients association, academia, and clinical centers, with the objective of increasing the efficacy and effectiveness of the process of the development, the development of medicines, so that the pharmaceutical sector is able to produce innovative medicine with is safer and more effective in the long term. A wider participation would contribute to the driving forward of the development of new approaches and technologies for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of diseases with high impact of public health. Today is an opportunity which has been offered so that biomedical research can keep representative or represent a reference in Spanish research. I sincerely hope that the objective which we have set for this webinar will be attained, and that all attendees feel today has been fruitful. Thank you for all of you.
Thank you very much, Amelia, for your welcoming words. And now we have Raquel Sainz, Director of Analysis and Strategy at AseBio. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Amelia. Thank you, Marta, and thanks to the Center for the Development of Industrial Technology. For us, this initiative is particularly important because it aims to boost public-private cooperation in Europe. And as you may know, public-private collaboration is at the heart of the biotech sector. As it was highlighted during the health emergency, only with it we will be able to face the global challenges we have ahead. Now, 2 years later, we are at a turning point. First, disruptive technologies such as messenger RNA and advanced therapies will change the way we protect and improve people's lives. Second, unprecedented investment need to be used to improve our innovation capacity. And third, we have many lessons learned from a pandemic that turned the European biotech sector into a key player in the fight against coronavirus. We believe the Innovative Health Initiative is a great opportunity to connect all the players in the European ecosystem. This initiative is a unique opportunity to boost biomedical research in our country and in Europe. It will give access to funding and resources, and above all, it will allow us to share our vision, work, and knowledge with our European colleagues. Europe needs to reinforce its strategic autonomy, and initiatives such as this one can play a key role to boost our innovative and industrial capacities. Universities, research centers, hospitals, patients association, and companies have a shared vision for improving people's lives, and the Innovative Health Initiative opens a window of opportunity to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Raquel. And now, Sergio Muñoz, Chief Innovation Officer and Digital Health and Emerging Technologies Director at FENIN. Please, Sergio.
Thank you, Marta, for your introduction, and good morning to all the people attending this session. And of course, thank you to CDTI for its support with the organization of this meeting. I will not invest a lot of time in my introduction, but I would like to remark on ideas related to the new framework. The new IHI program represents a reinforced collaboration strategy for the European Commission and the health industry, talking about innovation. The IHI moves from the AMI pharma approach to other more valuable vision, considering a cross-sectoral approach where medical technology sectors and companies needs to be absolutely relevant, putting the focus in a digital and a new digital paradigm. From FENIN point of view, we consider that the new calls for this program represent a big opportunity for all the companies working in this sector, not only for tackling the future healthcare systems challenges, but also boosting a new innovation ecosystem where all the healthcare stakeholders needs to take a key role working with hybrid technologies and projects such as digital health, biotech, medical technology, and so on. Today, we will have the opportunity to know more details about the strategy of the calls, and for sure, the session will be very interesting for the attendees. So thank you very much to all of you for being connected today, and enjoy the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sergio. And now Josep Samitier, Coordinator of NANOMED Spain and Director of IPEC. Please, Josep.
Thank you very much, Marta, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you and to thank CDTI and Institute of Health, Carlos III, for this initiative to organize this webinar. So NANOMED Spain is a platform that includes at this moment more than 170 entities working in this field of nanomedicine, so in the field of the interaction between a small material and biological entities. So nanomedicine is a very innovative approach at this moment, working in the new diagnostic in vitro and in vivo systems, in the drug delivery, and in regenerative medicine. It is clear that health in the 21st century is involved in a revolution, and we need this innovative approach and this initiative as the innovative health initiative promoted by the European Commission. So the pandemic has showed the capabilities of new vaccines, and these new vaccines based of RNA messenger require the use of nanoparticles for the drug delivery, and also the very new fields as the immunotherapies and advanced therapies are also very nice examples of how the evolution of the technology and the interaction between the different field of knowledge have the opportunity to obtain new approach. So as platform, and the same as our colleagues, our main efforts are to try to combine the capabilities of the public sector with the private sector, so the academia, the hospitals, the research centers, universities, and the industry, spin-off companies and big companies, in order to facilitate that Spain improve the capacity to participate in this initiative at the European level, but also to, in some cases, in the past, to coordinate big consortiums in this innovative field. So I think the program is strongly exciting and interesting for all of us. And I think that it is a very good opportunity to learn about this initiative and how we can participate in the next future in this approach. Thank you and enjoy of this webinar.
Thank you very much, Josep. I have to excuse Institute of Health Carlos III that is with us in the organization and in the work of IHI, but not today for the opening. But let's remind that we were organizing this together, and today we are presenting the Innovative Health Initiative. I am Marta Gomez Quintanilla, for the ones that don't know me. I'm Horizon Europe Health Cluster and IHI delegate at CDTI, and I'm very happy to be today in the welcome of this, for us, important meeting. This is not something that started today. We've been working in public-private collaboration in the health area in different IMI initiatives previous for more than 14 years. And this experience has helped us to be here today with all the sectors together working in this big public-private collaboration. And the experience we have is a lot of experience and also has been proven successful. And also it has been the envy of others that we can build together public-private collaboration in this scale and in this sector. The system that has been established builds in trust and teamwork. So we are focusing in public-private collaboration with a clear focus on the outcome of the projects. We want the impact on the citizens, patients, health and care systems, and of course, the competitiveness of the sector and of its industry. Everything is together here and the leitmotif of today's meeting. We will present the IHI initiative as well as what is the vision of the founders of IHI, and we'll learn about the calls to come in 2022 and the rules and how to apply and how we can support you. But I want to remind you what is the basis of here. At national level, we've been participating in this public-private collaboration in the sector for some time, and we have some figures that I want to share. We have more than 12 leaders, 100 projects, 90 entities, and 160 million euros of public funding, and a big investment in industry in participating in projects. So we have here a basis, but we want to follow with this Spanish participation and even increase the participation and the success in this new initiative. And this is why we organize this meeting together, because no matter the name, we want to take the best of the initiative and make it a success with our contribution. It is essential for the applicants to apply to know the information, but also I want to highlight it is important to collaborate also at our level, and we are here showing this collaboration, public-private collaboration also within the public administration and the industry association and technological platforms, that we think that we have to collaborate also to help you to collaborate and be here in this initiative. We started with IMI, we continue in IHI, but I can tell you that we will collaborate with you. We will have this stable working group with the industry and other administrations, CDTI, Institute of Health Carlos III, all the national platforms, the presence today, the ones present today and the ones that can contribute. So I'm not going to delay this starting any longer because you are eager to know what is to come in this IHI initiative. So you are very welcome. Thank you very much for all my colleagues in this organization. And now we will start with the first thing in the agenda. I will be moderating today's meeting, so you will have some time of my face, sorry for that. And we will start with IHI presentation, an overview of what is to come, the objectives and the strategic research and innovation agenda. And for introducing this IHI initiative, who can do it better than Pierre Mullen, Executive Director of IHI Office. So please, Pierre, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Marta, for that nice introduction. And I'm just about to share my screen. If hoping you can see it. I'm just going on presentation mode. Can you see it? Perfect.
Yes.
So thanks again for organizing this meeting. These are always great meetings. I can see there are well over 100 people already joined. So this is it's terrific. It's a great opportunity for us to get on direct with our stakeholders. And of course, Spain has been, as Marta said, already very active in IMI, and I'm sure will be even more active in IHI. So just as an introduction then, I am going to give you a short intro on IHI, talk a little bit about the governance because it has significantly changed from IMI, and then talk a little bit about the strategic research and innovation agenda. So indeed, this is a brand new partnership between the EU and the health industry in Europe. And it's got a broad variety of sectors involved. And it's really to take advantage of the technology convergence that's going on in the industry, in academia, everywhere really, where especially digital is everywhere. And this being able to integrate all of that in a seamless way, we believe is a big advantage in moving Europe forward. So of course, we're building it on 14 years of experience of public-private partnership with IMI, and over almost 200 large-scale interdisciplinary projects. And you'll be hearing a lot about the industry partners involved, both from me and from them, from themselves. So in terms of what's new in IHI, as we say, the scope will change in terms of the partnership, but this will allow IHI to cover the entire continuum of care, including prevention, early diagnostics, disease interception, treatment, and care. And in terms of the new, I will tell you a little bit about the new governance structure, but also we have a brand new strategic research and innovation agenda. Part of the governance is a very new science and innovation panel that I'll talk a bit about. And then my colleagues will go into more details in terms of the 1- and 2-stage calls. As you know, in IMI, with a big tradition, I think 90% of what we did was in 2-stage calls, but this will change in IHI. I'm going to allow my industry colleagues to go into a little more detail in terms of the trade associations that are now involved in the governance, but you can see them here, and they will be, of course, reflected in the governing board structure that I will talk about in a minute. We have, as with the other programs, a very significant budget, 2.4 billion euro, 1.2 billion provided by the European Union as part of the Horizon Europe Health Cluster, at least 1 billion provided by the member industry associations, and up to 200 million from contributing partners. And we'll be telling you a bit about those and mechanisms and so on later on. So of course, we have a new legislation creating IHI, and with it some very general high-level objectives, which will not surprise you because it remains a translational kind of program, really trying to turn the great research that's going on in our academic institutions into innovation and real benefits for patients and society. As I say, we want to cover the entire spectrum of care, which is a big change from IMI, prevention, diagnosis, treatment. especially in areas where there is an unmet need. And then, because it's a public-private partnership, we also want the health industries in Europe to thrive, both in Europe and globally. And so there's a big competitiveness piece in there. We want to help in that area. One of the big buzzwords in the Single Basic Act, which is the legislation that guides us, is around synergies. And of course, we'll be learning again from what we did in IMI, but we will also, there are specific targets that we will be looking at in terms of obvious ones like the cancer mission, EDCTP, HERA, the new agency for health emergency and responsiveness, EIT Health, and also national programs will be very interested to understand the synergies, possible synergies with the national programs. So in terms of governance, I'll pause here a little bit because it is very different. So not only do we have on the industry side the COSIR Europa Bio, FPA, including Vaccines Europe and MedTech Europe as members of the governing board. Also, the changes on the European Union side from the Commission. We have representatives from 4 directorate generals, namely Research and Innovation, DG Santé, DG Grow, and DG Connect, and those for obvious reasons. This is so expanding the scope on both sides. We have, of course, the States Representatives Group, which will have a more empowerment in terms of their say in the program and how it's driven. And then we have this new Science and Innovation panel, which I will talk a little bit about and more, because it is anything but a typical or traditional scientific committee. We also have this in the little pink box on the right-hand side, contributing partners, which for those of you who know IMI, IMI2, we had the so-called associated partners, and this was a fantastic success. It was a magnet for attracting new partners to the program, and so this is repeated in this one. Just the name has changed to contributing partners. So all of this, of course, that governance structure guides us, myself as the executive director and the IHI office. We have around 50 people based in Brussels, and we look after everything to do with the program, project monitoring, management, evaluation, launches, and so on and so forth, including all of the financial and legal aspects that we need to work on. So a quick word on the Science and Innovation panel. So obviously, as been said by many, the landmark of IHI is really this multi-stakeholder input that we have, and we're extending this even further. This was already the case for IMI, where patients and regulators and so on were involved. This is even more important that we do this within IHI. And really to try and get input from a broad group of stakeholders, so that we really do, when we at the end of the program, that we have made impact on these unmet public health needs. So the SIP will be looking at scientific and technological input relevant to the scope of IHI, as of course everything we will do will be in sync with the strategic research and innovation agenda, but also very importantly, we're getting a lot more input from other stakeholders in the healthcare system to ensure that the strategic design and activities address the needs of patients and healthcare systems. So they will be, the SIP will be providing science-based advice to the governing board, looking specifically at the draft work program, the updates that we will be collectively making on the strategic research and innovation agenda, because this is not a rigid document, but a living document, planning additional activities, setting up advisory group focused on specific scientific priorities, and then, as I say, looking at synergies with other European and national programs. So the SIP, as I was saying, is anything but a traditional scientific advisory or scientific committee. We have 2 members of the European Commission, 4 members of the IHI industry partners, 2 members of the states representative group, 4 members of the scientific community, and here's the big novelty, up to 6 members, and in fact we have started with 6 members of stakeholders involved in the healthcare, patients, healthcare professionals, healthcare providers, regulatory bodies, HTAs, and so on and so forth. And in addition, we can call upon ad hoc panelists who might be invited to talk to us about specific subjects with their coming, they'll be coming from specific research areas or areas of expertise that we need. So here's I'm not going to go through them all, but here are the SIP permanent members that have been nominated. You can see representatives from the IHI founding members, the scientific community members, stakeholders, and the IHI representatives group members. And just to say that we have both a chair and a vice chair of this group. The chair is Anna Chiotti from Luxembourg, and the vice chair is Ralph Herold from EMA, representing regulators. And then finally, a word on the strategic research and innovation agenda. This is repeating a little bit of what I said, but obviously we're going towards a cross-sectoral approach to facilitate the creation of new products and services to prevent, intercept, diagnose, treat, and manage disease. And this hopefully will lay the foundation in a public-private partnership mode to lay the foundations for the development of safer and more effective healthcare products and solutions. Once again, focused on unmet public health needs that can be implemented in our healthcare systems. And as usual, and as with IMI, we are really focused on pre-competitive things where industry partners can collaborate with each other as well as with the public sector, so that we advance and accelerate things that can be used by anyone shifting the competitiveness downstream, as we did, I think, quite successfully with IMI. So then in the SRIA, we, along with the specific objectives, we look at the current challenges, how IHI could address them, suggesting potential outputs for IHI projects, and describes the medium and long-term impact. And when we come to talk about the topics, specific topics, they as well follow this, this kind of pattern. For each topic, we try and understand the current challenges, how a public-private partnership could address them, and look at potential impacts and so on. And there you have the link to this document, which you should really have a look at. And then we have some specific objectives, improving our understanding of the factors that affect our health and disease, integrating fragmented healthcare research and innovation efforts, once again, bringing together collaborative, in a collaborative manner right across the spectrum, demonstrating the feasibility of integrated healthcare solutions, making better opportunities to gather health data and using this data. So IHI will continue, I think, in the great things that IMI has done in terms of the big data projects that we have run. And of course, very importantly, assessing the value of innovation. And that is something that collectively I don't think we've done enough of, because we've been on certainly the technology push front, but maybe not articulating the value to those who are paying for healthcare, and that we need to do a lot more of. And that's why the integration of these different voices in the SIP, I think, are so important. So this is the last slide from me in terms of, because we will be talking about topics later on. And we're going towards, this is at the very beginning of the program. Of course, we'll be tweaking things as we go along. But we're developing topics that are, of course, within the legislation coming from the Council regulation, that are, of course, within the framework of the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. We will not be doing anything that is not in there. And we will be looking, the SIP, of course, has a very important review function in terms of looking at ideas for core topics. And we will be, in a few weeks' time, creating a platform where any stakeholder can have input into this ideation phase. And we'll be talking to you about that, maybe not today, but in a few weeks' time. And then, of course, all of this gets funneled into an annual work program, which is consulted upon by the advisory bodies of the SIP and the SRG, and finally is adopted by the IHI governing board. So that's roughly where we are. I am now going to turn it back to Marta, thanking her for this opportunity, and looking forward to the rest of the discussion.
Thank you very much, Pierre, for introducing us IHI. We will continue with the agenda, but let me remind everybody that there is an option to ask questions through the system, so you don't have to wait till the very end to ask your questions. You can do it throughout the presentations. And now we will have the vision of the founding members. We will start with Tomàs Dilac, Team Leader, Innovative Health Initiative at the European Commission. So, Tomàs, please.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, we can hear you and see you.
Great, fantastic. Thanks a lot for the introduction and for the invitation to this event. So indeed, I work at the European Commission, and we work on a daily basis helping with the implementation of IHI. Could we go to the next slide, please? You may see that some of the information I will present is a bit the same what Pierre mentioned, but this will just highlight to you what is really important to us from the public funders point of view. So you are already familiar with the partner composition. We have several industry sectors. You already know the total budget, which is 2.4 billion euros spread over 7 years. And this budget is contributed equally by the European Union from the taxpayers' funding and by the industry partners and the contributing partners. And this will already show you that IHI has very ambitious objectives and a difficult job to fulfill the needs of both the public and the private side. Pierre already mentioned that the Commission is represented in governance together with the industry partners. So it is mostly through there where we follow up on the initiative and then make sure that it corresponds to the EU policy needs. Let's move on with the slide. Pierre also highlighted to you the objectives of the initiative. For us, first and foremost, it is to ensure that Europe remains at the cutting edge of research and innovation in health, of interdisciplinary research, sustainable and patient-centric, and that is all what is embedded in the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, which, if you like, is available on the IHI website. And we do want to bring together the public and private actors in research and innovation and bring together various sectors among those. The purpose of this is not just to bring them together and sit together, but to reach concrete objectives that cannot be reached in isolation or that can be better reached together. That is because we have different competencies residing with the industry partners and with the academic partners. And if we use them jointly to the full, that's the best what we can really do. All that is to achieve scientific impact, for instance, by better understanding health or disease, to help emerging technologies to develop new types of health innovations, as Pierre mentioned, to harness digital health approaches. That is more crucial nowadays than ever before, because health more and more is about data and information. And there is plenty of data possessed by the private partners, by the public actors. If we are able to merge them and use that all together, it would be great. Of course, respecting all the necessary aspects of data security and ethics. And with the strategic research and innovation objectives, we want to generate results that are taken up further. So we do not want these results to just be generated and remain passive. They should be used and reused, whether in research and innovation, whether in academia or at industry, but also with pleasure brought to the market as new products and services. So all that will help companies remain competitive, bring products to the market in the EU, also making sure that these products are available, accessible, and affordable to the public. And all that we also want to embed the SMEs, who are an important part of that huge ecosystem and who can really contribute to new ideas and generating new products. Could we please move on? To be a little bit more down to earth, I have put down here a list of or examples of activities that could be handled by IHI. So this can start from typical pharma research and discovery of new molecules, mechanisms of actions, testing of new hypotheses, but also we have new partners, we have medical devices and technology sector. So we also want to develop new methodologies for the assessment of safety, also for the health economics, because we may have great tools and great innovations, but they also need to make sense from the point of view of patients and payers later on. Again, we have and we will have a lot of activities in the digital space. This may come also in the pharmaceutical sectors with in silico virtual clinical trials, harnessing all the medical devices or the wearables, sensors, technologies which we have now. That is all to facilitate the convergence of sectors and the convergence of technologies so that we can have new approaches and new technologies to tackle unmet public health needs. If we could please move on. Then you have here a slide, what do we expect from IHI? And this list is already pretty ambitious and it's still not exhaustive. So we would like IHI to take the best from the predecessor, from the Innovative Medicines Initiative, plus add more, build on the lessons learned. As already mentioned by Pierre, the first thing is that IHI will be more open to prevention, to diagnostics. So we do want to cover all the elements in the continuum of healthcare, also health management. IHI will be more open to scientific ideas coming from many stakeholders. So this functionality, I believe, should soon be embedded in the IHI website. So we do want to tackle ideas coming not only from the European Commission or from the industry partners, but from many stakeholders, because that can change our thinking and bring new visions to this partnership. We desperately want that the research and innovation that we fund responds to the real needs of patients, of societies, and of end users. And by the end users, I mean here both patients, as well as healthcare payers, providers, healthcare professionals, HTs, bodies, and regulators, because you all know that this chain in health research and innovation is pretty complex, it's pretty long. We have this technology push, but we also need to make sure that what is produced or provided by IHI responds to the needs of all these stakeholders that these innovations are those which are actually needed and make sense also from the economics and health outcomes perspective. As Pierre mentioned, we want the initiative to work in the pre-competitive space. It does not mean that we don't like innovations being put on the market. Absolutely, we do love that. Just that most likely using EU funding and industry funding as a catalyzer makes much more sense than to invest maybe a similar amount for developing potentially one just drug and putting it to the market. So if you would like to have it summarized in one sentence, it's that we would like to make sure that the outputs of this initiative are simply impactful to the citizens, to patients. Could we please move on? IHI is a very standalone program with its own legal basis, with its office implementing it, with its own budget and rules, but it is at the same time part of a bigger ecosystem of the European research and innovation. And with that, we want to make sure that this public interest is reflected best by the best initiatives. We do want to avoid duplications with the other funding instruments, as we call them, and we want to ensure synergies. So all the EU funding instruments have some specificities. Some will be better tailored to public-public collaborations, some to public-private, some to just academic research. And with that, I want to say that each type of research has probably its best home from the point of view of the mechanics and from the point of view of the content. IHI is part of Horizon Europe. Its funding comes from Cluster Health. But we also have a number of EU policy initiatives where IHI will contribute. That is notably the Europe's Beating Cancer Plan with the mission on cancer. That is also the Pharma Strategy for Europe, which is a set of both legislative and non-legislative initiatives which aim to modernize the pharmaceutical landscape in Europe to help companies bring drugs to the market faster, to make these drugs more available, affordable, maybe safer. And also we want to make sure that companies are incentivized to work on new drugs. We also have the new industrial strategy for Europe, which looks at all the company landscape in Europe, also not forgetting the SMEs, which are an important player here. And many of you will be aware of the European Health Data Space, which is a very fresh Commission legislative proposal, which would like to help sort out and solve a few problems in the use of digital health data, both for the provision of better care services and for better policy making and better research. So we want to make sure that all the data used for health purposes are standardized, high quality, ethically screened, used according to the wishes of patients. So this legislative proposal will now go through the negotiation with the Council and Parliament, and we do hope that it will become a full reality one day. Pierre also referred, or Pierre or one of the other speakers, to a new body that was set up a few months ago called HERA, which was set up in response to lessons from the COVID pandemics, of course. With that body, we hope that we will be better prepared as the European Union for any future pandemics or any other emergencies. We also have the Green Deal, and here with IHI, we hope that it can help pharma companies produce the drugs in a bit greener way, generating less waste. For medical devices, it could be new technologies which are less energy consuming. We then have unmet public health needs, rare diseases, pediatrics research, and also we want to invest in the alternatives to animal testing to limit the number of animals which are used in research and innovation. And that list is long, I admit. All these objectives are very, very ambitious. All that makes IHI a very ambitious initiative for which we do have high hopes. We all hope and will help IHI reach these objectives. But for that, we need your input as participants, we need your ideas, we need your collaborations. So the good faith and future of this initiative is also in your hands. So with that, I'd like to invite you all to respond and to apply to IHI core topics. And that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Tomas, for sharing the European Commission vision on this, what is expected, and also put it in the context of Horizon Europe, the European Research and Innovation Program, and also the policy context in which we have to contribute also. So next, we will be having the industry vision as founding member. We will have 3 representatives of industry associations. We will have first Nicolas Kreff, Senior Manager Research Partnership, Science Policy and Regulation Affairs from FPA. We will have then Claire Skentelberry, Director General at Europa Bio, and Patrick Boisseau, Director General Strategic Initiatives at MedTech Europe. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Marta, and thanks a lot for inviting us to present at this event. So to start with, I will not dwell on some aspects that Pierre already very well illustrated regarding the specificities of IHI. I will focus actually on the bottom of the screen on actually one aspect that is new in IHI compared to IMI. It's the composition of the private founding members. So compared to IMI2 in the past, where only FPA was representing the industry, now we have a much broader representation in IHI. Pierre already has shown to you on this table on the trade associations. So you might refer to this slide after the meeting and also refer to the website because you have links there. So basically you will have on the pharmaceutical and biotech side, FPA, including Vaccines Europe and Europa Bio, and more on the medical technology side, COSIR and MedTech Europe. One thing I would like to highlight, so Pierre has presented this slide on the budget. So basically from the side of the industry associations, there is a commitment to contribute up to €1 billion to this partnership. So this is something that you have to keep in mind later on when we discuss about the topics and the project. So basically our industry associations committed that within the topics and the projects, there would be contributions from the industry at that level throughout the whole partnerships. And this might explain later on some operational and practical features of IHI. Here you can see also the scope of the budget commitment from the different associations. And basically it's, if you put aside the contributing partners, it's basically 50% from the pharma and biotech and 50% from the biotech sector, with contributing partners matching the contribution from the union. So we're going to present first FPA and Vaccines Europe, then Claire will present Europa Bio, and Patrick from MedTech Europe will cover both MedTech Europe and COSIR. So about FPA. So the FPA Association represents the biopharmaceutical industry in Europe. And we have a vision for Europe, which is for a healthier future. And this future would be based on prevention, innovation, access to new treatments, and better outcomes for patients. And in order to make that vision possible, our mission is to create a collaborative environment that enables our members to innovate, to discover, to develop and deliver new therapies and vaccines for people across Europe, and to contribute to the European economy. So FPA is composed of, except the staff, we do have member companies, large and SMEs. We do have member associations, national associations. We have also within FPA the Vaccines Europe group with specific members. And last, we have another type of membership, which is called Partners in Research. I will go quickly through this. So as you can see on this slide, we have the full members that you can find also on the FPA website if you go to our membership page. So we do have full members, but also affiliate members, as you can see on the screen. Here you can see the 17 SMEs that are part of FPR. On the screen also, you can see the partners in research, which was a specific type of partnership created for IMI2 specifically, in order to ensure that non-pharmaceutical companies can contribute to IMI projects. So this type of partnership of membership remains for the existence of IMI, but these companies can also contribute to IHI if they are not already covered by the other associations, like, for instance, COSIR and Medtech Europe. Here on the slide, you can also see the members of the specific vaccine industry group within FPR, which also can contribute to IHI projects. Part also of FPR membership are member associations, which are national associations. You have all the national associations across Europe. Specifically relevant today is the Spanish association, so FARMAINDUSTRIA. You can find on the web also all the membership of the Spanish association. I'm mentioning this because in case you ask later, who can contribute in kind in IHI projects on the side of the industry? So possible contributors are direct members of the European associations, so all the companies which are listed on the previous slides, but also members of national associations. And that's valid for FPR, but also for all the other founding associations. So a company that would be a member of a national association, but not a direct member of the European one, would still be able to contribute in kind in IHI projects. So a few figures very quickly about FPR to position also as the FPR contribution to actually the research and environment, research and innovation environment in Europe. So our members contribute to 37 billion in R&D in Europe, employing more than 800,000 people in Europe, of which more than 120,000 for research and development. So our sector contributes to a trade balance surplus of more than 140 billion euro. So you can find this figure on the FPR website. I've provided the link here. Also, to point to note is that in the past, in IMI and IMI2, we committed 2.4 billion euro to contribute to IMI and IMI2 projects. That's about around 200 projects overall. So we think at FPR that industry needs to be positioned as a partner in healthcare in Europe. And this is also illustrated by our campaign called We Won't Rest, to make sure actually that new treatments and medicines reach patients in Europe. And this is why, you know, we contributed and committed to IMI and IMI2 in the past, and are contributing again to IHI within a cross-sectoral partnership. So in brief, we welcome the start of IHI. We are looking forward to the first calls that will be launched and to contribute and participate to these calls. Because first, we think that we need to join force in order to deliver more to patients and to society. We also know, and based from experience in IMI, that collaboration between the public and the private sectors works and is a must. And this was also illustrated more recently by the COVID-19 pandemic. We think also that the launch of IHI is timely. It will support the Europe's post-COVID industrial recovery, but also the health and innovation strategies. So I would give the floor now to Claire for Europa Bio, and thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed for that introduction to FPR, and I will now follow up with our Europa Bio presentation to you all. So we're really delighted that you could join us all today, and it's a really exciting time to be part of the launch of IHI and its development up. As Nicola mentioned, Europa Bio is also part of the industrial partnership for IHI, and we sit in a slightly different area of the innovation pipeline for Europe. So we really represent biotechnology developments across Europe, and those are entirely across sectors. So we work with company members and national associations across all sectors, and we focus very much on these sort of highly innovative and disruptive technologies that can be generated through biotechnology. We follow the sort of campaign language around innovation, investment, and excellence, because these are all things that are absolutely fundamental to delivering successful biotechnology into a commercial environment. And being across both healthcare and industrial biotechnology, we have an extremely broad range of outcomes. So of course, we're looking very much at novel therapeutics, but we're also looking very much at how you reduce the environmental footprint of all across all sectors and help all different aspects of companies to become more competitive whilst maintaining the green transition. So I'll have the next slide, please. So I wanted to give you a really quick snapshot of our members. We couldn't fit them all on one slide here, but it gives you a really nice example of the different types of organizations that we represent. Our company member profile goes from the smallest of startup companies through to large multinationals, and they play often a very different role within Europe Bio, depending on the type of organization they are and the priorities that they have. And we also represent national associations for biotechnology within Europe Bio, and they really help to define the landscape in which biotechnology can be delivered and scaled up across Europe. And in line with Nicola's presentation also, we have the National Association for Biotechnology from Spain, AseBio. And so the members of AseBio would be able to participate through the industrial side of IHI through their membership of AseBio and AseBio's subsequent membership of Europe Bio. So we try to spread our fingers as widely as possible within IHI, particularly for smaller companies. So I will have the next slide as well now, please. So I wanted to give you a really quick overview of the types of organizations and structures that we have inside Europa Bio, because we are cross-sectoral. We operate through three main councils. So we have our Healthcare Biotech Council, we have an Industrial Biotech Council, and we have our National Associations Council. And associated to the National Associations Council, we have an SME platform. And those main structures within Europa Bio allow us to deliver a number of sort of advocacy and development activities. So alongside FPA and the other industry partners within IHI, we have a very strong policy and regulatory outreach to ensure that we can really represent and help develop a very strong, robust and predictable landscape, regulatory and legislative landscape for biotechnology. And we have a number of different activities that we deliver as part of that. So on the industrial biotech side, we have our European Forum for Industrial Biotech and the Bioeconomy, which is our one event per year. It sits within the IB side of the landscape. We deliver a health forum, which very much looks at the pharmaceutical legislation going on right now. We have an SME Bioforum, which really brings together the voices of the smaller companies, both directly as members of Europa Bio, but also as members of our national associations. And they really work hard to address the bottlenecks for small companies in growing across Europe. From our National Associations Council, we bring an annual summit, and that is linked to presidency priorities. So it gives us an opportunity to look at the different ecosystem developments that take place across the different sectors that are linked to biotechnology. And that is often linked very strongly to skills development, regulatory aspects that may take place on a national level, legislative divergences across Europe at a national level. And so our National Associations Council works really hard to try and align and harmonise and minimise fragmentation across countries in Europe. Going back to our Healthcare Council, we also deliver an annual Patient Bioforum, which looks very much at the critical voice of patients across the development and successful implementation of novel therapies, and particularly advanced therapies. And finally, we have our Biomanufacturing Forum, which we're developing now, which is a cross-cutting activity that looks at it represents the very critical economic and skills and quality of life role that biomanufacturing plays across all sectors. So you can see we're a quite diverse industry association, really focused on enabling the innovation pipeline to stay as wide as possible for biotechnology and helping bring some of those smaller voices into the discussion around what is required to develop a novel technology fully through to market. Next slide, please. And our priorities in IHI are very interesting for Europe Bio because we're not a really large association, and many of our large members are already represented through FPA. So we're working more towards the small and mid-sized companies that are represented within Europe Bio. And that brings a number of opportunities for them, because these are companies that typically would probably not be involved in the public response to IHI or indeed IMI in its previous life. So we want to help reflect the scale up and expansion priorities of small and mid-sized companies that usually would not be reflected so much within a big public-private partnership like this. And we also look, in discussing with our members, we look very much at the ecosystem for accelerating medicines development. It may not be a very specific technology development that our members have a priority for, particularly as they are smaller. But what we look at is the enhanced ability of national regulatory agencies to understand and help support the development of novel biotechnologies, and understand skills development required in a very fast-changing environment, particularly where you've got a very large diversity across Europe in the skills development in general. Particular technical focal points for our members I just looked at the common messages that come from our members towards IHI. There's a really significant focus on rare diseases, because of course many rare disease therapeutics do emerge from smaller companies across Europe, and they of course have very significant challenges in terms of reaching a critical mass of patients and enabling effective development of therapeutic pipelines. And we have a very strong focus on advanced therapies as well. You know, if you're really looking at the landscape change in healthcare developments, it's much more around cell and gene therapies, which are priorities for our members, than anything else. So you can see we bring a sort of a slightly different voice to IHI, and we're working with our members, both our direct company members and our national association members, to look at how we best represent the interests of slightly smaller companies and the broader landscape development for effective therapeutics. So I think that's it from me. Yeah.
Yes, good morning, everybody. So now I will try to introduce the medtech industry, which has joined IHI with a great pleasure. So first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to introduce our industry. So this industry is, you are probably familiar with the products, because I usually say that when you enter a hospital, for instance, all what is not a drug is a medical device. So it could be a software, small pieces of equipment, large equipment. And so we have, our industry is covering the medical devices, the in vitro diagnostic, and also the digital health industry. So this is an industry with more than 675,000 employees. And we have a wide variety of in vitro diagnostic tests or medical devices. And by the way, that's why sometimes people do not know exactly what is a medical device, because they are so diverse that it's quite challenging to have the full picture. And one specificity of our industry is that beyond, let's say, I don't know, maybe the 15 or 20 global companies, 95% of the companies are small and medium enterprises with more than 27,000 SMEs operating in Europe. So, and this, within these SMEs, a lot of them are quite innovative, and this is where the early stage of innovation is taking place. However, the medtech industry is very innovative by itself because it is the first industrial sector in terms of patents at the European Patent Office, with more than 12% than some industry which are considered innovative, like the computer industry and the pharma industry. Next, please. So there are two trade associations operating in Europe representing this sector. So MedTech Europe, I have the pleasure to work for MedTech Europe, and COSIA. So I will now go over the two associations one after the other. With the next slide, I will just introduce MedTech Europe. So like the other trade associations already presented by Nicola and by Claire, we are representing, let's say, two streams of members. So the first stream are the corporate members with 150 corporations. So unfortunately, I didn't manage, let's say, to put 150 logos on one slide. I'm sorry for that. I know, I'm kidding. And but we also have 50 plus national associations, and I'm happy to have today, let's say, Sergio Munoz representing FENIN, our Spanish national association. And because we have a lot of startup and SMEs operating in the medtech space, these SMEs are not members, or with a few exceptions, but these SMEs are not direct members of MedTech Europe, but they are usually members of our national associations. For instance, if you want to deal, let's say, with Spanish startups and MedTech, the shortest way is to go to FENIN, where basically they have, let's say, daily access to these innovative startups and SMEs. Then, and as Nicola mentioned already, these SMEs or startups can participate to IHI projects, either, let's say, applying as a partner, or if they have the willingness to do so, because they are a member of a national association, they can contribute on the industry side. This is a bit more technical, but just the key, the take-home message here is, okay, the startups and SMEs in a given member state, can participate in two different ways. Can I go to the next slide, please? So what is the purpose of MedTech Europe? Like most of the association, we want to be the European voice of our MedTech industry, and in Europe and also in other regions like Middle East. And we want to facilitate the access to the medical technologies. And you have seen that they are very diverse and contribute to the policies and legislations in the health space. We want to highlight, let's say, the contribution and the value of medical technologies, products, and services for, let's say, the key stakeholders. That means patients, citizens, healthcare systems, and society. And we are a trusted partner for EU institutions and key stakeholders. And last but not least, but very important in the healthcare space, we promote, let's say, the highest ethical standards in all the interactions between our industry, the healthcare professionals, and the healthcare organizations. Next slide, please. So in practice, what do we do? This is the list of the main departments at MedTech Europe. We have approximately 65 employees, all based here in Brussels. And I have highlighted at the bottom, the latest departments on research and innovation, which has been set up, let's say, 3 years ago, just to cope with the participation of MedTech Europe and its corporate members to IHI. And this will be my last word about MedTech Europe. So the take-home message is that despite the limited experience our companies have, say, in European projects, and of course, with a few exceptions, most of them have never participated to a large public-private partnership like IHI. However, now there is a change of mindset in these companies, and are now considering European as a, let's say, very attractive innovation ecosystem for MedTech, but it's not MedTech alone, it's MedTech in cooperation with the other industries. That's why you can count on the medtech industry to play an active role in IHI, you can count on our companies, small, medium, big companies, to join you in projects and to listen, let's say, to your suggestions. If you go to the next slide, I will briefly go over the COSIR, the second association. So COSIR has a specific focus in terms of industrial sectors. So COSIR, like the others, is an association founded a long time ago in 1959. And COSIR is specific in having, of course, a big European footprint, but they're also present in China. And COSIR is covering four main sectors. One is medical imaging. This was the first raison d'etre of COSIR, radiotherapy, health ICT, and electromedical applications. If you go to the next slide, so COSIR has currently 44 companies, industry companies. You can see here that some names are similar, let's say, to the members, let's say, for instance, at medtech Europe or sometimes in other associations. It's just because some of the global companies, have different divisions. I'm just taking one example here, or several examples, like Philips or Siemens Healthineers. They have a medical imaging division, which is active at COSIR, and maybe an in vitro diagnostic division, which is a member at medtech. This is why you have this double or sometimes triple affiliation. Next slide, please. Like the other associations, COSIR is also representing here with 15 national associations, and you recognize already some names you are familiar with. And I think that's it. It was, let's say, a brief overview of the two associations in the medtech space, so medtech Europe and COSIR. And in the next slide, we are slowly, let's say, transitioning towards the end of our introduction of the industry partners in IHI. I think what is important to remind is that despite the funding brought by industry partners, the interest of industry is not to work only with industry. Otherwise, they would do it, let's say, in a bilateral manner. The expectation of industry is to take advantage of IHI to work hand in hand with a variety of stakeholders all along the value chain. You have here on this slide, let's say, a non-exhaustive list of stakeholders, but this is especially true, let's say, for new members like my members. So they are really looking for cooperating in a fixed framework, which is IHI, which is whatever we say, let's say, it's quite simple. You have one consortium agreement, one grant agreement, and within these agreements, you can interact with many stakeholders, which could be, let's say, patients or citizens, which could be academics, which could be healthcare professionals, which could be regulators, procurers, payers, member states. And so it's important just for all these stakeholders to interact very closely with the industry partners, so that at the end, the end projects, the end products would be, let's say, a joint initiative and hand-in-hand cooperation between these public stakeholders and in industry. In the next slide, and this will be the last slide for us this morning, you have here a lot of, let's say, links that will be available for you. The first one is, or indirect, I would say, request, because here I would like to take advantage of having a pool of experts attending the meeting today. So any European expert can contribute to the evaluation of project. Of course, you cannot be an evaluator in programs where you are applying, but let's say your expertise might be useful either for the European Commission or even for IHI to evaluate proposals in your field of expertise. So anybody can apply, so you just have the link here. Or if patients are represented today, there is also this possibility proposed here. very soon, and at the time of the call launch, on the IHI website, you will have anybody, so any of you in the room or anybody in Europe will have the opportunity to submit ideas for future topics. And a template will be available on IHI website with, let's say, specific sections to address. But it is one possibility, and I strongly recommend you to take advantage of it, to provide ideas for future topics that will be, let's say, processed by the Science and Innovation Panel, as well as the funding partners in IHI. And so you have all the information on IHI website, which is, let's say, the place to go for all information related to IHI. But of course, and this is basically why industry is present here today, you can contact on top of the IHI office. If you have some questions specific to industry, you can contact the 5 industry associations. So just to remind you, AFPIA, Vaccines Europe, Europa Bio, MedTech Europe, and COSIA. And with that, in the next slide, I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicolas, Claire, and Patrick, for this presentation on the industry vision of this IHI. And now we have some minutes for questions and answers. Let me remind you all that you can send your questions through the questions and answers part of the system. So we have some questions here. So if the speakers of this part can switch on the camera, I will be asking questions to you. The first one is, does the initiative address nature and health and well-being relationships? Is there funding for the development of nature therapies in Europe?
Yeah, I believe I should answer that question. Okay. Thomas here. I don't see myself on the screen, but
you are there.
I think I switched camera. Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah, so in fact, there were a few calls already in Horizon Europe about this subject. They came in cluster 6. Several topics I have in front of me for nature-based solutions, cost-benefit analysis, multi-stakeholder platform to promote their use, also linked to the resilient local communities, educational aspects, and so on. So yes, there have been some opportunities so far. So I assume the person who has the question should look for more of them in cluster 6 of Horizon Europe.
Okay, thank you very much. So this will be covered through Horizon Europe calls, but probably not specifically in these IHI calls. Let's see. The next one, how can we contribute to the SRIA or proposed topics? Already Patrick signaled a part of the agenda, but maybe the question is, when is this going to be ready? Probably if you have an estimation of when people can start their contributions.
Well, here's Patrick. It has been announced last week at the IHI brokerage event that this template will be available on IHI website at the time of the launch of the course, which is 28th of June. So in 1 week from now.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We have a piece of news here also when the call is going to be open, but I'm sure that the next speakers will go deep on that also. Next question, how will IHI contribute to the cancer mission?
So I volunteer. Again, yeah, so when you look at the current draft call topics, you will see already topics on cancer. So IHI has already contributed to cancer mission with its budget, with topics which contribute to cancer mission. I would guess that perhaps more will come in the future.
You want to complement, Pierre, or is okay?
I'll just to say that indeed Thomas is quite right. But in addition, you know, the synergies going forward will be the result of not only launching things that contribute, but also hopefully with direct contact of the leadership of the cancer mission, we will be molding and strategizing together on how to best make the fit and to really synergize with what they're doing. So there'll be you know, this is not just passive, it's also very proactive in terms of talking and discussing with the leadership of the cancer mission.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? It is okay? Okay, right. Then I follow with the next one. Who should I contact if I want to contribute as company to IHI? To the European Association? The National Association? How is it working?
Well, first I would say both could work. Honestly, I would suggest that, you know, if it's your case, first try to identify to which association, in which association you fit best. No, if your scope is medical devices, obviously you will not contact FPR. But I suggest you identify the most relevant association, and then, you know, it doesn't hurt putting both people in the loop. So, for instance, in Spain, I think that, you know, if you send a message to FARMAINDUSTRIA and to me at FPR, we would follow up on.
Just follow up on that and say you do need to be an active member. You actually need to be a member of your national association to gain the benefits from, you know, in participating on the industrial side. So obviously, though your associations are likely to have that information about, you know, how you can participate, but if you want to actively contribute into topic development, you will need to be a member of either your national association or the European Association.
Thank you very much, Patrick. You were, sorry, I thought you were going.
Maybe I'll just say another word, because of course the other way of becoming part of the operation is becoming a contributory partner. And then, so if you're not on the industry side, but you're a philanthropic organization, or a research oriented patient advocacy group, or a funder, and you want to get involved, then you should contact the IHI office.
And just to complement what Thierry is saying, and sorry, Marta, is already in one topic. We would have one example in call 2 of one association that would participate as a contributing partner, which is the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, who would be a contributing partner in one of the topics.
Right, so they can contact the national associations, the European Association, provided they belong to the associations, of course, and if they want to be contributed, if they want to join the association, of course, they are welcome. I understand that you already is implicit that, no?
Indeed, and just for your information, I remember in the IMI 2 call on COVID-19 that we had launched 2 years ago, we made sure to onboard companies in a very smooth way to make sure they could contribute. So we can find solutions.
Okay, and for the ones that don't want to contribute in the topics, they want to contribute but are not companies, they can call Pierre, the IHI office. Well, Pierre directly, maybe not, but there are some emails. And also, Marta will explain later on that you can contact us as national contact points and support at national level with any questions you have, and we will direct you to the right person to ask if it is not us. So we will follow with the questions here. It is mandatory to belong to the association of companies to participate in a consortia. It is part of next part of the agenda, but I will open this for you for a quick answer. Nicolas.
Yes, if I may, just very quickly to make sure there is no confusion. We should not confuse participation and contribution. Participation is open, just like Horizon Europe. And our IHI colleagues will provide a lot of details on that. Contribution is another thing. So here we're talking about what does it take to have your contribution acknowledged as in-kind contribution. And this is what we just discussed about, when you need to be part of the associations and or contributing partners. That's just to make sure that your in-kind contribution is acknowledged. Otherwise, participation is open.
Good to clarify that. There is a difference. We are talking about contributing, putting in kind, in cash in the projects as company, but participation is open to anyone. And there are two more questions, but related with participation call procedures. So we will leave these two questions for the next part. If there is any last minute question, we can answer that. If not, I will.
Marta,
yes.
If I may, sorry, I'm just wondering about the question on the performance of the initiative, because I'm not sure I fully understand the question. If the question is, how is performance monitored? So there are key performance indicators for IHI. If that is the question, some are specific to IHI, but there are also indicators overall for Horizon Europe. So I assume this is the question, but maybe I've misunderstood it.
Okay, we will put it. How is the performance of the initiative in terms of work programs, topics, funding? Is it similar to Horizon Europe? I was thinking about how to participate question, but if you want to maybe spare a few words saying that there are key performance indicators, that everything is monitored, followed, and how it is working, it is worth it, maybe. So who's volunteering to this more general question?
I mean, I think Nicola has covered it. There are key performance indicators that now have been specific for IHI that have been approved by the governing board. People can have a look at those in the annual work program, which was just adopted by the board and will be published. And then how is that working? Well, we'll tell you when we start work. This is just the beginning, and of course we'll be monitoring this very carefully over the next 7 years and beyond.
Thank you very much. There will be evaluations, impact assessment, everything will be in control, so it will be monitoring. And also the amended work program for 2022 is now public in the website. I will put the link. And it is important not only to look at the calls, but also to know how IHI works. So it is 99 pages. I know it's a bit, but it is very interesting at least to read how IHI is working, how it is performing its objectives. So I highly recommend to read the work program, at least a quickly view of how it works, because you will understand best IHI and maybe it will help you with your initiative. So there is no more questions here, so we will just close this part of the agenda. Thank you very much, everybody in this part, for sharing and answering all the questions. And we'll go to the next part, that is IHI opportunities and rules. And for this, we will have speakers from the IHI office. We will start with the calls 1 and 2, 2022, that will be presented by Elisabetta Baudano from the science team of the IHI office. So, Elisabetta, go ahead.
Okay, I hope you can hear me.
Perfectly.
Great, and I hope also you can see my screen.
Not yet.
Not yet, yeah, that's because I don't click share, then nothing happened. Okay.
Now it's
so
working.
Now it's working. So good morning, everybody. And it's my pleasure to be here to give you a little taste of the first call for proposal in 2022, meaning these are the first. There will be more to come. But these are what you can read with all detail in the work program that which link has been just shared right now. So first of all, just to what you have to understand is in IHI, we launched two different type of calls, which are reflected in the two calls that are now part of the first, let's say, batch to be launched hopefully now at the end of June. We have a first call one, which is a single stage. And what it means this is, in this case, we have topics that are rather broad. They are not really specific to one single product, technology, solution. And for applying to this type of topic, the consortia have to perform together, meaning both the industry partner and all the other stakeholders have to join forces. And this can be started from one side or the other. And in principle, for this, in this consortia, everybody is eligible to receive funding. Although the company from the pharma company from EPIA have made the sort of the agreement that they will abstain from receiving funding. And one important point that will be further in depth discussed by my colleague Carolina is the fact that when consortia put together their request for funding, they can have also a choice which type of budget request or in the envelope of the funding available for a determined topic. But critical to be eligible to go to evaluation, the funding, the cost that a proposal will include need to have at least include the 45% of in-kind contribution. So for example, if a proposal says I need 10 million to do my work, then in this 10 million, there will be the possibility to have up to 5.5 million cost funded by IHI, while the rest will have to be covered by contribution coming either from the private members, so the members of the association that have been just presented, or by contributing partners. Then we have another type of call which are now represented with the two topics in the call 2, which is the 2-stage, for which no IMI are the typical IMI type of call. In this case, the topics are much more detailed, more targeted, and also the budget expected to be allocated to the project that will be financed by this topic. Also an important thing, single stage, there might be in principle more than one proposal funded under each topic. For the 2-stage, only one proposal eventually will be funded. And this is, in this case, the industry members, the private members can be also contributing partner, create a predefined industry consortium, which is also identified in the topic text, and they are behind the idea in the topic. And then the public so-called consortia are invited to compete for the funding at the first stage of the process. And of this consortia that apply, only the best one, the first ranked, is invited to the second stage, where they have to join forces with the predefined industry consortium, created a big complete consortium that have to write the full proposal that is again then go through evaluation for a go-no-go decision, and then will become one project. In this case, there is also a difference in the fact that the private members that are part of the predefined industry consortium are not eligible for funding. And in fact, actually no funding can be allocated to any company that has an under turnover more than 500 million. So that's the why. So this is a pretty different type of 2-stage call that the one that are in classical Horizon Europe. So now I will go quickly through the different topic that will be part of the first stage, call 1. call, which we expect to be launched on the 28th of June, but we still last confirmation in the next few days. And the first topic that will be launched in this call is the innovative decision support system for improved care pathway for patients with neurodegenerative diseases and comorbidities. And the challenge that should be addressed by the proposal and is the fact that we all know the neurodegenerative diseases represent a high social burden that impact families, patients, and the public health care systems, and is even compounded more by the fact that the great majority of patients with neurodegenerative diseases might also have further diseases, at least one comorbidity, which of course complicated much the patient journey, also because there is also an observed polypharmacy, which really creates something that we need to understand much better in order to optimize current health care pathways for this patient. In this context, this topic, which has a total budget of 15 million, would like to address the development of a decision support system to enhance medical decision with targeted clinical knowledge, patient information, and other health information, addressing a patient population of the choice of the applicant, but they have to have a neurodegenerative diseases where there is an evidence of the importance of comorbidities. And when the applicant also decide on the comorbidity they would like to address, is they have to make a choice considering the burden for the patient, carer, and family, but most also importantly, the availability of medical technology generated data. The only comorbidity that is out of scope from this topic is cancer. And why should they do all this? Is to really to achieve a more holistic, breaking silos across medical specialty approach to managing and treating patients with a neurodegenerative disease and a comorbid condition. And this is should be both considering the need of the patient of today, but also considering that in this field, we might have also new important technology, therapy that could come. And it is important that when this happens, there is a preparedness in the healthcare system so that the patient could have the best benefit to this advancement. It is expected that the applicant will propose a plan of activity which will contribute to deliver all these expected outcomes. So they should contribute to the development of the digital platform to guide patient and healthcare professionals. And this platform should be easily adaptable for use in other health areas. There should be also the contribution to a sustainable framework for collaboration across specialties and stakeholders to foster not only technological innovation, but also social innovation. There will be important component to contribution to standard and guidelines for data collection and for the operation of the digital platform that can be enabled medical technology innovation, and also contribution to enhance more reliable tool and methods for near real-time feedback on health intervention to support joint patient-doctor decision-making. And last but not least, also an enhanced clinical interpretation of complex data that influence variation in patient status and required care, which is of course very important both for the benefit of the patient and for the healthcare provider that have to take care of this important and demanding patient population. The second topic that we have in this call is the first of the, we have two topics in the cancer. There was a question about a contribution to the cancer mission. And this is also, if you look at the text, there is also some text on this, how this should contribute also to the cancer mission. The first topic is on next generation imaging and image-guided diagnosis and therapy for cancer. And the challenge behind this topic is the fact that there is a need to provide early evidence of improved cancer patient care that is enabled when using next generation imaging technology and image guide solution as part of combined cancer therapies. And also it's important that an optimized image-based care pathway from early diagnosis and screening to treatment and follow-up, it is really essential to improve the outcome of cancer patient and help optimize clinical workflow and cancer patient journey. So how to tackle this challenge? So the scope of the topic that has a total budget of 40 million euro, expected a contribution to the development, high quality tools, high quality data, advanced patient imaging and image-guided technology and processes for improved early diagnosis, prognosis, staging, intervention planning, therapy, and management of cancer and long-term follow-up. And this will also enable the development of improved artificial intelligence and machine learning validation evaluation methodology for imaging and image-guided diagnosis and image-guided therapy for cancer. As the applicant, via their plan of activity, are expected to contribute to all this outcome, as in this slide, to expand the use of cancer patient imaging data sources with improved data quality, annotation, and computability, contribution to solutions that automatically link images to clinical data, to improve the diagnostic staging, predictive and therapeutic tool for clinicians, including image-guided tools. Also to contribute to develop robust evaluation and validation frameworks for artificial intelligence and machine learning-based algorithms applied to cancer patient images to improve image-guided diagnosis, prediction on therapy outcome, planning and therapy of cancer patients. And also it will be important, the contribution on proposed novel, continuous self-learning, trustworthy, explainable AI and machine learning enable image-guided diagnosis, therapy planning, and interventional systems that can be used in clinic, hospital, and also the possible related benchmark. If we move then to the second cancer topic that we have in this call, this is the personalized oncology, innovative people-centered, multimodal therapies against cancer. And the challenge of this topic is that the fact that we have many different treatment modalities available for various cancer, but still the different biology of cancer and different efficacy of treatment modality shows the need of more patient-specific approaches. We know also the multimodal therapy have been shown to be of high value, but there is a strong need to increase the therapeutic arsenal of such multimodal therapies and to tailor the treatment approach to the individual patient. In this context, the scope of the topic, which has a budget of 40 million euro, is to develop a biomarker guide multimodal precision oncology, where applicants should consider combining at least 2 cancer treating modality, including development of new health technology integrated with current therapy concept. Consider development of research protocols for multimodal therapies to be explored via early clinical studies. Consider the clinical decision-making process aspect of all this matter. Consider evaluation aspects like, for example, the sequencing, the timing, and the dosing of therapy. And also the use of prognostic and predictive biomarker and the combination of diagnostic tool to plan and adapt treatment. And then, of course, it's really important to look at methodology standards for the combination of various technology into integrated healthcare solution. And via their activity, again, the expected outcome come in 2 categories. Under platform standard regulatory, we will have contribution are expected on a platform for research, innovation, collaboration across sector, collaboration of cancer care pathway standards, demonstration of the benefit of healthcare technology convergence. And then for improved multimodal therapies, there should be a contribution towards health innovation in cancer therapy through development, testing, and validation of multimodal therapeutic approaches, and improve active monitoring and adaptation of therapy through the patient journey, involving early response biomarker, as well as more involvement of patient in the cancer patient journey. The last topic of the first call, single stage of IHI, is access and integration of heterogeneous health data for improved healthcare in disease areas of high unmet public health need. And the challenge is very simple and very real, that there is a wealth of data that could be harnessed for use in healthcare. However, assessing, integrating, analyzing this data to maximize the value for patient care and research is still extremely challenging. In this context, the scope of the topic, which again is a budget of 40 million euro, is for applicant to identify disease areas of high unmet public health need, and then provide a scalable platform for the similar integration or linkage of all these different data that might be available but are still not accessible and used, and develop also tools to allow the data to be used in clinical care, patient self-management. It is important also in the scope to demonstrate the added value of this platform through a use case, a study, and demonstrate the widespread applicability and scalability of the platform and tool beyond the specific scope chosen by the applicant. And finally, important also to consider how to facilitate long-term access and reuse of the data. And by their activity, the applicant should contribute to long-term access for research to diverse data scale via linkage and integration of novel and cross-sectorial sources, and to also long-term access to new tools that enable the integration and analysis of this data. If possible, some of these tools should be also able to be used for providing evidence to support regulatory decision-making. It is also expected contribution as user-friendly, interoperable tools for citizens, including patients, to access their own health data to support disease self-management and empower joint healthcare professional patient decision-making. And finally, also it is expected there will be an access for healthcare professional provider to integrated data decision support system to deliver better healthcare services in the most suitable and efficient manners. Then we pass to the second call that will be launched by IHI. Again, expected call is launch is the 20th of June to be finally confirmed, and which is a two-stage and include two topics. The first topic is cardiovascular diseases, improve prediction, prevention, diagnosis, and monitoring. And the challenge is that the fact that, of course, cardiovascular diseases is one of the leading causes of death globally and also in Europe with an extremely high cost for society. And what is still needed is a better risk classification, a better identification of the risk, a better understanding of the natural progression of the disease, and also on the impact of the different intervention beyond simply counting the events, which also is something that comes too late to be really implementable to finally be used for smarter design, development, and evaluation of novel therapies. In this context, the scope of the topic is to identify risk factor, focus on the initial driver of this risk factor, right? Promote activity towards the right treatment for the right patient at the right time, look at primary and secondary prevention, look at sustainable model for assessing future intervention, and also, and more importantly, consider patient empowerment, for example, using wearable and biometric data. And the expected outcome, which have, again, all to be contributed to, are to identify hurdle and solution towards the right treatment for the right patient at the right time, identify risk factor and predictive prognostic models, build sustainable database that can be proteomics, genomics, transcriptomics, biometrics, imaging, behavior, build also a platform scientific dialogue and educational environment with key opinion leader, health technology assessment bodies and regulators, support building a cardiovascular disease patient community in the European Union, increase holistic understanding across drugs, devices, data, digital diagnostic that are still in silos, provide a platform for dialogue with the EU politician, policymaker, and cardiovascular interest groups, drive prevention of cardiometabolic complication, and pave the way for more sustainable clinical trial, evidence model for cardiovascular disease, eventually contributed to better and early treatment option in clinical practice. For this two stage, the applicant that will apply to the first stage, preparing their proposal, should consider that they expect to contribute, as I said, to all the outcome that I've listed, and they are listed in the topic text, which is just a snapshot. And they have to consider that they should contribute by identification and access to relevant data sources, like devices, intake form, diagnostic, exploratory test. Importantly, the topic is focused on two particular cardiovascular conditions, arteriosclerosis, cardiovascular diseases, and heart failure. So it's not broad cardiovascular diseases. There is some specificity that is better displayed in the topic text. They should plan their contributions so that they can contribute to data capture, storage, sharing, for example, integration into a federated database. They should contribute in their plan to increase understanding of early disease. They should generate and validate a risk model, include social, ethical, regulatory aspect through real-world evidence and wearable, and develop model for short and long-term economic consequence, develop a decision tool for physician, integrated patient-reported outcome measure, and explore possibility for novel methods of clinical development and trial execution. And the budget that will be available for the winning consortium will be of 11, a little bit more as 11 million, as is written here, and also you can find it in the topic text. On the other side, the public consortium that will be selected will join the pre-constituted industry consortium, which will contribute also some element, which is very important that the applicant at stage one carefully consider when they prepare their proposal, in order that then when they come to prepare the full proposal, there will be a good match, a good mixing to get to a very functional and very successful full consortium. So industry will contribute a type of data from different type that will be from clinical trial, biobank data, real world data, wearable, smart device, algorithm, identification of risk, sensor technology, telecommunication, etc. So many different type of data. They will also contribute expertise, will be medical expertise, bioinformatics, data science, public health, patient input, clinical regulatory expertise, early identification from wearable. They contribute technologies like wearable device, mobile technology, telecommunication, and other smart devices. And also they will contribute to identify hurdle and solution towards right treatment for the right patient at the right time. The partner are those that are described in this slide. So Novo Nordisk, Becton Dickinson, Evotec, Fresenius, Huawei, Philips, Roche Diagnostic, AstraZeneca, Lilly, Amgen, and the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, as already mentioned by Pierre. And the in-kind contribution is matched to the contribution that will be available for the public consortium, so a bit more than 11 million. The last topic that is launched by the call to stage of IHI is setting up a harmonized methodology to promote uptake of early feasibility studies for clinical and innovation excellence in the European Union. And here the challenge is the fact that patients with unmet needs in Europe experience still delay in access to valuable innovation. And EU, unfortunately, is losing attraction for early clinical trial investment. And European Clinical Excellence Hub are struggling to keep the pace with other regions globally, which there is big competition. And this is also because one of the factors is that early feasibility studies are still not taken up in the European Union as is happening in other parts of the world. In this context, the scope of the topic is set a tested trial the EU methodology to promote the uptake of early feasibility study in the EU by building three components: blueprint, guideline, and template in line with EU regulation, build a stakeholder network connected through an EU online portal, and use cases, pilots to test and validate the methodology that will be proposed by the project. And all this will contribute to expected outcome that are the fact that the patient will be engaged from the start in the studies. There will be a earlier knowledge, a better plan, uniform approaches EU-wide and also at national level for regulator, HTA bodies and notified bodies. There will be improved clinical excellence, strong disease understanding, and earlier quality data available for healthcare professional, medical society, hospital and researcher. And also there will be a control opportunity to test and assess early on the technology to then better inform the development phase for health technology developer, including SMEs. The expected contribution of the applicant that have to provide the first stage proposal to put their bid in for this topic is in expertise from regulator, healthcare professional, patient representative, health technology developer and SME, HTA bodies, research organization, academia, biostatistician, legal expert, and ethicist. And all this to create an EU methodology. Of course, co-created because we'll be also with the industry, constitute the industry consortium to facilitate an active and sustainable stakeholder network, to develop an online portal with all you need to know and do while conducting an early feasibility study in the European Union. And the funding available is 10.75 million euro. On the other side of the table, there will be when the expected the in-kind contribution of the industry consortium that have to be bear in mind when the public consortium prepare its first stage consortium is that there will be provided legal, ethical, compliance, regulatory, R&D and clinical expertise to feed into the development of the methodology and the online portal. There will be a possibility for an industry propose potentially breakthrough technology across disease area to test the early feasibility study methodology and inform any further adaptation, and also a contribution to project management, dissemination, and communication. And the partner in the industry consortium are Edward Life Science, Medtronic, Gore and Associate, Philips Medical System, Synthes, Abbott, for a total contribution that is equal to the GU funding of 10.750 million euro. You will be able to hear much more at the webinar that are planned or have already occurred. In this case, the registration and the slide are already available, which are listed on the slide. I have also to add that there is a further webinar that is planned for Monday, the 27 in the afternoon between 14:30 and 16, specifically on the financial part of proposal. So this is a news that I can tell you now. And also this will be an opportunity for networking since the list of participants will be published. And so it will be possible, of course, if the participants agree, will be possible as a basis for building consortium, finding some interesting partner. And then last but not least, I would like to give you a few reminders and tips. Please remember that you have to start working as early as possible and do not submit at the last moment because things can go wrong. Never trust an IT tool. Importance of network, any possible opportunity. Of course, National Contact Point SRG member are there to help. Please read carefully all the CAL documentation that is now available on the IHI website. It will be also available on the portal, and participate also and read the question and answer to the webinar. Also, there will be a question and answer from the workshop event. Please, each point that can be very important for make it the deal breaker for your proposal. Think public-private partnership at level of your proposal and consortium, because that is what all IHI is about. And of course, remember the 45 contribution to total cost is an eligibility criterion, and Carolina will tell much more. And if you have any question, we are there to answer them. And then just to say that briefly, since this has been already covered, the fact that there will be possibility for contributing to shaping new idea, and then also there will be a new call that will come. So this is just the very beginning of IHI calls. Thank you very much for your attention. And I think now we'll give the floor to my colleagues, Carolina.
Thank you very much, Elisabetta. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Let me just try to share my presentation. Okay, should be up and running now. Is it visible, my presentation?
Yes, you just have to put it in vision mode and.
There we go. Is it okay now?
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Hi, hello everyone. Good morning. My name is Karolina Gut-Mostowy, and I'm a legal officer at IHI. I'm here together with my colleagues Desmond Barry and Domenico Lally, and the three of us constitute the legal team of IHI. And I will give you a little bit of an introduction to IHI rules and procedure. Please note that this is a short version of a more than 2 hours presentation that we gave a couple of weeks ago on the same topic. So if anything is unclear or you need a little bit more information on particular aspects, on our website, you can find a YouTube link to a very long presentation that explains everything in detail. And also you can always contact us via the info desk tool with any legal questions. So let's get started. In this presentation, I will guide you through the participation rules in IHI. I will talk a little bit about funding and the IP provisions in IHI, which are slightly different from IMI2. I will give an outline of the procedure that goes from call to the grant award. I will mention the timelines, and I will finish by giving you some points to remember. So let's have a look at the participation rules. Basically, we envisage two types of consortia, which Elisabetta has already mentioned, since now we are going to announce single stage and two-stage calls. For single stage calls, the participation is quite open. So the public and the private actors assemble themselves and they compete for funding. In two-stage calls, the applicant consortium must submit a short proposal for a stage 1 evaluation, and then only one applicant consortia, which will be ranked the highest on the list, is joined by the pre-identified industry consortia, which the composition of such consortia we will already know at this point because it will be included in the call. And then together with the pre-identified industry consortia, together they submit a full proposal for further evaluation. So how does it work in practice? So in case of a single stage procedure, once the call is launched, we are awaiting the submissions of full proposals. After that, the full proposals are evaluated. And at this stage in the single call procedure, the full consortium should be already established, including the public and private partners. After that, after the evaluation, we go to the granting phase. And the granting phase is aimed at signature of a grant agreement, but we may not sign the grant agreement before a consortium agreement between the members of the consortia, so the private and the public partners, is signed. After this is finalized and the grant agreement is signed, we can launch the project. In a single stage call, as I mentioned, all proposals are evaluated in the single list. The proposals need to reach a particular threshold in order to qualify to the next stage, which is the preparation of a grant agreement. It is possible in a single stage call that we will have more than one proposal, more than one consortium that will enter the granting phase. This is obviously within the budget that is available for us for this call. What is important to remember is that for topics that involve clinical studies, the applicants should submit some essential information regarding that clinical studies. And also there is a need already at this point to prepare a plan for dissemination, exploitation, communication activities. In the two-stage procedure, this is slightly more complicated and a little bit longer in time. So after the call is launched, we are expecting to receive submissions of short proposals from applicant consortia. And those submissions are being evaluated. And in the second stage of this two-stage procedure, the applicant consortia, which is the highest one on the list of the ranking, so that is a competitive procedure, is joined by the pre-identified industry consortia. And together they enter the granting phase, which is aimed at signature of a grant agreement, which similarly to the single stage procedure, there needs to be a consortium agreement signed before a grant agreement may become enforceable. And after that, we can launch a call. As I mentioned, what is very important is that only the first ranked applicant consortia will be invited to prepare a full proposal together with the pre-identified industry consortia. Similarly, as in the single stage procedure, there needs to be information provided on the clinical studies if they are supposed to take place in the project. And also it is possible that at stage 1 of this procedure, we will organize a hearing with the applicants, a panel meetings to learn a little bit more about the proposals. Should this be the case, the coordinator will be informed. What is especially crucial, and this is a point that we would like to underline here, is that it is absolutely prohibited that the members of the applicant consortia contact the pre-identified industry consortia to discuss the topic or have any other kinds of discussions. This is not allowed. Instead, we would invite you to contact the IHI office. If there are any doubts, we will be happy to answer all the questions. Now let's have a look at which entities are eligible to participate in IHI. First of all, we need to make a distinction between the entities that are eligible to participate and entities that are eligible to receive funding. So basically, in terms of participation, any legal entity, regardless of its place of origin or establishment, is entitled to participate in IHI, provided that it works in the field that is obviously relevant for our core objectives. But not all of those entities will be eligible for funding. The composition of the consortia that we basically expect is that we need to have at least 3 members. Out of those 3 members who need to be independent legal entities, at least one of them has to be established in a member state, and then the other 2 have to be established in a different member state or in an associated country. By member state, we obviously mean countries that are currently members of the European Union. By associated countries, we mean countries with whom the European Commission has signed either association agreements to Horizon Europe or transitional agreements. So this is currently an issue that we receive a lot of questions about. What about the UK? Basically, the UK is currently covered by a transitional agreement. We expect that the UK will be signing an association agreement, but in any case, if there is a UK member of your consortia, the association agreement needs to be in place before the grant agreement can be signed. So this is important to remember. And in case of Switzerland, currently there is no negotiations ongoing to join Horizon Europe. So as for today, Switzerland is not included. In the context of the current situation and the Russian invasion on Ukraine, the European Union has introduced some very severe restrictive measure that against Russia and Belarus, which also extend to the Horizon Europe actions. So basically, none of the entities based in Russia, Belarus, or in the parts of Ukraine that are not controlled anymore by the Ukrainian government may participate in any form in any action related to Horizon Europe. Now let's have a look at what is, I think, interesting for everyone. So what are the entities that are eligible to receive funding from IHI? Basically, any legal entity established in member state, associated country, or low and middle income country can receive funding. The low and middle income countries are listed in the Horizon Europe guide, and these are particular countries that has been considered eligible for funding. And entities coming from third countries to Horizon Europe are generally not eligible for funding. That includes, for example, entities coming from the US. But there is an exception that we may actually consider, well, not us personally, but the expert evaluators may consider that a participation of an entity from a third country is essential to the project. And then in such exceptional circumstances, such entity may receive funding, even though it comes from a third country. Eligibility for funding is slightly different in a single stage and 2-stage calls. In a single stage calls, all non-profit organizations that fulfill the conditions that I just mentioned are eligible for funding. So these may be NGOs, research organizations, hospitals, and similar organizations. Also, in single stage calls, larger enterprises and entities, so for-profit legal entities, are also eligible for funding. In a 2-stage call, this is slightly different because for the for-profit entities, so SMEs and larger enterprises, there is a threshold of 500 million euros of annual turnover. So if a company, even if it's an SME, reaches annually over this threshold of the turnover, then it stops becoming eligible for funding. This also applies to a situation where such company is controlled by a larger company that is above this threshold. And obviously, the pre-identified industry consortia, which exists in 2-stage calls, is also not eligible for funding. Let's have a look at the funding rules. IHI has introduced some new types of, some different types of beneficiaries. The language is slightly different comparing to IMI. So in IHI, we have, first of all, we have private members, which are legal entities established under private or public law, which are a member of the joint undertaking, but different than the union. Then we have constituent entities. This basically means entities that constitute a private member of the joint undertaking, where the private member is an association according to that member's statute. We also have affiliated entities. These are the entities that have a capital link or a legal link with the beneficiaries. And then we have this new category of contributing partners. So contributing partners are legal entities that are interested in supporting the objectives of IHI, but at the same time, they do not want to become a member, but they still want to participate in a consortium and provide in-kind or financial contributions to our activities. Now let's have a look at what type of contributions the industry might provide to IHI. So first of all, we have the in-kind contribution to operational activities. This is what we call ECOP. And this contribution is supposed to cover eligible costs incurred in implementing the actions. This contribution may also have a non-EU character. This means that it's an in-kind contribution incurred outside of the EU, but also outside of the countries associated to Horizon Europe. Then we have what is called EKA, so in-kind contribution to additional activities. These are costs for implementing additional activities, so not project tasks, so therefore not ICOP, not the first category. And IKA, so the in-kind contribution to additional activities, needs to be program specific, so must relate, for example, to the uptake of results of IHI, and must be also project specific. Then lastly, we have a financial contribution. This is basically cash contribution, financial transfers. And those financial transfers may be made by the private members of the joint undertaking, then their constituent entities and their affiliated entities, as well as the contributing partners. And the purpose of the financial contribution is either to support the eligible costs incurred in implementing IHI project, but it might be also just money transferred to IHI to increase our budget for a particular funding of a particular project. So this slide nicely sums up the types of contributions and the origin of those contributions. So as you can see, private members and contributing partners to the joint undertaking might contribute with ICOP, so the in-kind contribution to operational activities. Private members and contributing partners may also contribute financial contributions, so cash, but then this is slightly different when it comes to in-kind contribution to additional activities. This may be only contributed by private members. Contributing partners are not allowed to contribute in such way. Now let's have a look at the famous 45% criterion, which has already spiked some questions on the chat here today. Just to give a bit of an explanation, the 45% criterion only regards the contributions from the joint undertakings private members, the contributing partners, their constituent entities and affiliated entities. And basically, this is an eligibility criteria. So in each project, in each consortium, 45% of contribution needs to come from these entities. At the moment of submitting a proposal or a full proposal, the coordinator should submit a declaration to confirm that the 45% contribution has been collected from those entities. And if the 45% contribution from the industry is not secured collectively, then the proposal will be declared ineligible and will not be evaluated. Therefore, even though this is the private members and the industry that gives this contribution, it is still a responsibility of the whole consortium to make sure that this is secured. And the IHI office will again verify this contribution prior to the signature of a grant agreement. Let's have a look at other very important thresholds when it comes to contributions. So In terms of ECOP, so the in-kind contribution to operation activities, this contribution may be also non-EU based, but then it may not reach more than 20% at the program level. There is an also limitation of 20% at the project level, unless it's otherwise specified in the call conditions. So for call 1 and 2, we've actually set this limit at 100%. IKA needs to be also 40%, capped at 40% at program level and project level. This is, I've already received one question about the funding rate. So in IHI, we have one single funding rate per project. Basically, this means one project, one rate for all beneficiaries and all activities. Direct costs are founded at the level of 100%. And then when it comes to indirect costs, there's a flat rate of 25%. Now let's have a very quick look at the intellectual property rights in IHI. When it comes to IP, we have three basic concepts that are important to understand in the context of a grant agreement. So first of all, background. Background means all data, know-how, and information, regardless of its form. That is, first of all, held by the beneficiaries at the moment when they acceded to the grant agreement. And secondly, this background is needed to implement and implement the action and exploit the results of an action. The second important definition is results. So the results is basically everything that comes from the action. So it might be data, know-how, information, and might be also intellectual property rights, but it's everything that is resulting from the action. And access rights basically inform us who may use background and who may use results and under which conditions. The intellectual property rights scheme is slightly different in IHI comparing to IMI2. So as probably many of you know, in IMI2, there were special derogations relating to intellectual property applicable to IMI2 projects. This is not the case anymore. We are now under the unified framework of Horizon Europe, and the IP rules that apply to IHI projects are included in the model grant agreement, but also in a special Annex 5, which has a lot of special provisions related to IHI, and also when relevant in the co-conditions. What are the differences or important points? First of all, IHI maintains the right to object to a transfer of ownership of results or grant of exclusive licenses to entities that are based in countries that are not a member of the EU or not associated to Horizon Europe. Secondly, Horizon Europe gives a really big emphasis on the exploitation of the results and open science. So there are some affordable access provisions included in Horizon Europe that they might apply to some of our calls. Further, there is an obligation to exploit the results, and unexploited results should be assured via Horizon Europe results platform. So I would say these are some main points. Additionally, what is a big difference comparing to IMI2? There is no third-party access rights after project for research use of results anymore. This has disappeared in Horizon Europe. Okay, let's have a quick look at how the procedure looks like from grant to from call to award. What is very important to remember is the evaluation criteria and thresholds. Once we receive the proposals, they will be evaluated by a minimum of 3 independent experts, and the evaluation criteria are excellence, impact, and implementation. Out of those criteria are marked out of 5 points each, and there is a threshold of 3 points per criteria and 10 points in total for a proposal to be shortlisted and evaluated. In terms of timelines, for call 1, so single stage, we are hoping that the call will be launched on the 28th of June. And then we will be expecting the submission of full proposals until the end of September. In October, the scientific evaluation will take place, and the applicants should be informed about the outcome of the evaluation by the end of November. In this scenario, we are hoping that the grant agreement preparation and grant signature will take place in March 2023. In terms of call two-stage proposal, we are also hoping to launch the call on the 28th of June. By the end of September, we are expecting the submission of short proposals, which will be evaluated in October. And by the end of November, the applicants should be informed about the outcome of this evaluation. By the end of February, there will be a deadline for full proposals, which will be then evaluated in March. And in April, the applicants should be informed about the outcome of the evaluation. If everything goes well, we are hoping to sign the grant agreements in July 2023. Now, to finalize, just a couple of points to remember. I think some of them Elisabetta already mentioned. So first of all, we invite you to consult our website. There is a lot of material on this website. There are also many recordings of webinars that provide a lot of information and probably can answer a lot of other questions that you might have. It's important to start early. So read the topic text, check the website, and start forming the consortium early. It is also important to follow the templates of the proposals that are available and respect the page limit. This will help the expert evaluators to evaluate your proposal, and this is only in your favor. It is also important to plan the 45% contributions. As I mentioned, even though the 45% contribution comes from the industry and private members, it is the responsibility of the entire consortium to fulfill this eligibility criterion. My suggestion is also to contact us if you have any questions that has not been answered by the material available on our website, but please do not contact the industry topic writers. I think that's it. Yes, you can contact us as mentioned via the info desk mailbox, but you can also contact the applicant's mailbox. So for some more particular questions related to your application process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these two presentations to show how we can participate and what are the open calls. And now we will proceed to the questions and answers part of the agenda. I have to say that, Elisabetta, if you can open your camera, we will be asking both of you. And also we have with us two colleagues from my IHI office, that is Barry Desmond and Domenico Lally. Sorry for my pronunciation to all you. So we will proceed with the questions. Don't stop, don't be shy. You have the opportunity today to ask whatever you think is not clear yet. So it is good to take advantage of this opportunity. Okay, I think this is a common question that was asked before, but I have to ask again. How can the consortium be sure that the ICA provided will be accepted to meet the 45% criteria? I understand that what they are saying that is that you explain that ICA can be related to IHI and to the project, and they.
So actually no, IKA is the in-kind contribution to additional activities. So this is not project related. So as you can see on my slides, sorry, Elisabetta, correct me if I'm wrong, Elisabetta, I see you.
Well, we have two types of additional activity. We have the program additional activity, which are, let's say, put it aside for this audience, because I think because they have nothing to do with the 45% at the proposal level. The point is that the contribution to a single proposal can be including also additional activity, in kind for additional activity. Now, as it is written also in the proposal, it is up to the consortium to decide if contribution are ECOP, so in kind to operational activity, or if there are additional activity. And all this will be evaluated by the evaluators. So that's all I can answer at the moment. And if my legal colleague have more to contribute, please.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
What I would say, I think Carolina and Elisabetta have actually captured it quite well. I think for the purposes of the proposal stage, I mean, the delineation between ECOP, the stuff that's actually going to happen in the actual project, you know, operation, I mean, it's going to be almost self-policing. I think it will be quite obvious to the actual consortium what they're going to be doing in the project, what the project activities are. EKAA, as Carolina and Elisabeth has said, it really is something from kind of outside, which would be brought in, you know, from outside the actual project. It wouldn't be happening in the project, but may be relevant and could actually be added to it. So this is a judgment that the consortium would have to make as a whole when they're at the proposal stage and say, look, is this something that could potentially be useful? Would it satisfy the criteria for EKAA under the IHI guidances? And we're actually going to have, if it's not up already, there actually will be on the IHI website a specific guidance on EKAA, which will actually have additional information on this. And then lastly, if that doesn't hit the spot, then the legal team are happy to take a question through the info desk facility if you have a doubt on it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, because we are having this event today, but not all the documents have been publicly available for everyone. So there are questions about ECA that must be clarified in this document that you are going to publish. So read carefully the documents when they are available, because this is tricky, because this is new. So we have to not interpret it, but read the rules. And if not clear, ask and clarify before sending things to the call, because this is an eligibility criteria as explained by Carolina. So it is important indeed to have it clear. The second question, for stage 2 proposals, private hospitals are, as hospital applicants, are private companies with turnover.
Maybe I will try. Well, it will depend whether they are indeed private hospitals or there are hospitals that are NGOs and so on. So this will depend on the legal form of this private hospital, because if a private hospital is a limited liability company or any kind of company, then it's a company, then it's not an NGO. And yes, I mean, also the 500 million turnover seems to me quite high. Although if it's a network of private hospitals, I might imagine that, and it's a for-profit company, then I might imagine that this case can be possible. But indeed, it will depend on the legal form of this organization. So whether it's a for-profit company or it's a NGO or university research facility and so on.
Okay.
Desmond, do you want to add something?
No, I think I would agree with that. I think it depends upon the actual legal form, and Carolina touched on it there. I think if it's part of a larger network, if there's questions as to the ultimate ownership of it, then if it is a legal company, then we're looking at this 500 million cap. And if it's part of a larger group, then, you know, potentially we look at the turnover of the larger group as well. So if you're in the situation where you're essentially a private hospital, then we would basically say at first look, we would regard it as a private company. But we're happy to look at matters in detail if there's some issue of interpretation.
Thank you very much. So the important thing is the legal part of the beneficiary that is applying. So that's the basis of what you are going to analyze. The type of entity that is legally in their base. Okay. Next question. What is the expected approximated total budget of a proposal for a single stage call? I think, Elisabetta, you can.
So again, if you read the topic text, for each and every topic, that there is a sort of a suggestion of what could be. relevant funding request to achieve the objective, the outcome of a specific topic. Nevertheless, applicants are absolutely free to ask another amount as far as they clearly justified in their proposal. Because at the end of the day, will be the evaluators that will say, okay, this proposal is, we said, I don't know, 5-7 million, but this proposal is asking 10 million, or on the other hand, is only asking 2 million. And then they will say, but, so there will be the evaluator that will consider if the applicant have done a good job to consider a package of activity that is what is needed for best achieving the objective of the topic and the outcomes.
Thank you very much. There is another question on the 45%, the ICA, and that it is very related with the previous question. I don't know if you have any additional, or we tell them to read the ICA document that will be published when the call is to be open.
Yeah, I mean, I think we addressed that in the previous answer quite well. As what I would say is I would refer to the document that we have online, and then if there's a further question needed, then I'm happy to reply via the InfoDesk facility. But it should be clear once you reference the actual documents.
And there will be also the webinar, the specific dedicated webinar, exactly because people are so confused on the next Monday. So my colleague will be there and will be answering all the questions, and there will be recording, and there will be slides, and everything will be available online.
And I mean, Carolina mentioned it as well, but about 2 weeks ago, we actually had this 2.5-hour seminar where there was a lot of EKA related questions, and we gave a lot of answers there as well. So I would also refer the attendees to that as well. That's also on the website.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's a trending issue because people are confused, because it's the, I say, the most new thing in IHI. So, and also apologize because we wanted to do this event, and IHI is organizing all the webinars with enough time for you to be prepared, but the call is not yet published. So we remain some issues that still have to be published. So sorry for that, but we wanted to give you the maximum information available the earliest as possible.
That makes sense.
For you to be
it's quite new for us as well. If that's any consolation, I would say that to the attendees.
Okay, there is a very specific question on IPR. Carolina, you said that IHI undertaking maintains the right to object to transfer or licensing to legal entities established in a non-EU country or in a country not associated to Horizon Europe. But what happens with entities that have affiliates that have automatic transfer of ownership, or if they share the ownership? What is happening here?
I think Desmond can best answer this question.
Again, this comes under one of these areas that, you know, it's in the legal basis, and the IHI team, we've looked at it in quite a lot of detail to evolve something which is workable. But I think when they refer to automatic transfers here, I think the question that's being asked is if a result is generated in one part of an actual larger corporate group, and automatically under their rules, the IP is then transferred out of the EU for the purposes of IP protection or to a TTO. We've actually looked at this detail. The simple reality is 2 points. One, whether you are a beneficiary receiving funding or a beneficiary not receiving funding, IHI has the right to object to the transfer of your results or exclusive licensing if it is going outside the EU. This is absolutely indisputable. And this is particularly appropriate because this has been enacted for calls 1 and 2. So if you're talking about call 1 and 2 here, then the right to object is there. That said, that doesn't mean that we're going to object to absolutely everything, but we do need to be notified. But secondly, there is actually a waiver procedure potentially in place whereby you can apply to the IHI office before transfer of the actual results and basically say, look, this result has been generated, and does IHI wish to exercise its right to object? And you basically give a well-reasoned request, and then we are obliged under the terms of the model grant agreement to respond and give our reasons why. So to answer this question fully, I'd say this is going to apply to everyone, even if it's to an affiliated entity as part of your larger corporate group, and even if you work with automatic transfers. This has been discussed extensively between IHI and the private members recently. If you need further information on this, I'd actually recommend you contact the IHI legal team, and we'd be happy to provide further assistance. But before you go there, I would actually urge you to look at the model grant agreement, specifically Annex 5, which basically deals with the right to object. And in Annex 5, there is a particular part of Annex 5 which talks about the IP rules for the joint undertakings. And even nestled in that section towards the back is an area specifically for IP or for the JUs and IHI specifically. So just take a look at those areas first. And if that doesn't answer your questions, then please come to us and we're happy to discuss further.
I take here that we have to pay attention also to the model grant agreement, the annotated model grant agreement. I put in the chat the link specifically to the part in which they say the specificities of IHI and other joint undertakings, so they can take a look there. So for some things apply to IHI that don't apply to other projects, so it's good that they check the model grant agreement. I understand.
I don't know whether this has been raised, but I would also very much refer all the attendees to two documents. One, the annotated model grant agreement, which kind of takes the basic grant agreement and it expands it with about 200 or 300 pages of best practice notes and examples, and it's online. It's extremely useful. The latest version is November 30th, 2021, and it is becoming quite a good resource. So anyone who's on this call, I would recommend it to it. It's not really just for lawyers. And then the second document is IHI is currently preparing and will very soon release an actual dedicated guide for applicants, which basically has information in relation to, you know, putting together your proposal and some of the actual rules and things to consider. And I think if you have both of those documents ready and at hand, I think it will answer an awful lot of the questions that might come up.
Okay, so I will check if the link is in the right version.
Super.
And we will deliver that to the applicants, both documents when they are available, because Thailand is not yet available. Next question. Do we need to contact private members to create the consortium in one stage proposals? Because they'll be part of it and they'll contribute to the 45% co-funding. Is it possible, right? Maybe one of them wrote the topic. We don't know. Thank you.
Well, maybe I will try. So this actually the question regards one stage calls, and I was talking about two-stage proposals. So in two-stage proposal, there is a pre-identified consortium coming from the industry, which is already known and it's included in the call topic. So that is what I meant by please do not contact them. So please do not contact the pre-identified industry consortium, which is included in the calls that are two-stage. Maybe my colleagues want to add something.
Yeah, I mean, I think just because we're talking about the 45%, as Carolina said a couple of times, and I think Elizabeth referred to it as well, the 45% is very much the responsibility of the private members. So, you know, FPA, COSIR, et cetera, and their constituent entities and affiliation entities. So what we've basically been saying in all our webinars and our briefing materials is, this is the responsibility of the private members, but I mean, everyone in the applicant consortia should think about it and be aware of it and keep it in mind. For the single stage call, I mean, you're going to need engagement from the private members straight away, because it is this 45% that you need to basically meet that eligibility criteria. So again, we have a slightly different approach for a single stage and two stage, because that's mandated by how the call actually works. So for single stage, I would say reach out, build your network, use your network, contact the private members, think about the 45%, make sure that they're contributing straight away. If you're applying for a two-stage call, then to be honest, you're as the applicant consortia part one, private members aren't involved. Therefore, you know, the 45%, it isn't for you at this stage. What you're really concerned with is basically, you know, putting the short proposal in, getting through the competitive process, and then if you get through the first stage, then you get to the second stage, you meet the pre-identified industry consortium, and then, you know, as I said, everyone's been thinking about it, and you turn around to the industry or the private member consortium and you say, right, how are you guys going to address the 45%? And you have that discussion afterwards. So I think we can keep it short. Everyone keep it in mind, but this is the 45% is the responsibility of the private members and to a lesser extent, possibly the contributing partners.
Yeah, so just maybe also to add a little bit. So indeed, as also I said in the first slide of my presentation, for the single stage, the consortium, the starting, the coordinator even can be either from the private or from the public, let's say, sector. Can be a contributor or can be someone that won't just receive funding. That is up to the single consortium, but the point is the coordinator will have to take care that his proposal includes at least 45% of contribution to be eligible. And so therefore networking with everybody, including private member. For the other side, instead, of course, forbidden to contact the member of the pre-conceived industry consortium, but extremely important that when you write a proposal, the applicant consider the public-private partner dimension, consider the contribution of the pre-conceived industry consortium, consider how to build the public-private partnership, because the evaluator will look on the fact that indeed this has been done by the applicant in a proper way when they will do their evaluation. So this is extremely important.
Okay, Elizabeth, I think that you already answered the next question. If it's mandatory to have a public coordinator or it's they have to have an industry leader. So it is already answered, I think. If you want to...
Well, yeah, in the sense the coordinator can be whatever. I mean, but of course, it is important really for the benefit of the consortium to have the public-private partnership reflected both in the way that they design the work plan, but also in the way they design the governance of the consortium. So also the level of the work packages, just because it will be much easier the work and the successful the work of the consortium. That is our experience.
Just on the coordinator, because it came up a lot at the brokerage event on Tuesday, we would reiterate the fact that when thinking about the coordinator, it's absolutely essential that they're financially viable and financially sound. And that's something that we actually look at and we check, because obviously if the coordinator isn't financially sound, or if there's a question, that's a perfect way to derail everything during the grant application or preparation process. So you need to look very carefully at that. And outside the strict financial issue, the other issue is the consortium needs to be comfortable that the coordinator has the resources to do the job. And that because it is a big job, it's a responsibility, and they have to be able to manage the workload. They have to be able to liaise with IHI, GIU, and they have to be able to handle, inter-consortium discussions as well. So that's just something to bear in mind as well.
And another thing that is important to clarify is the question in which they said that the industry wrote the topic in stage 1 and then we have to contact them. Maybe you want to clarify that in order to avoid misunderstanding. Elizabeth, sorry, but
yeah, no. So of course, the two-stage topic were written by the industry pre-constituted consortium. The other one was a co-creation between the funding members, so not the funding members, so the commission and the industry. For this case, then in future we will have also other topics that maybe will come from other stakeholders, and if the ideas come to them, that doesn't mean that they will not be able to apply. But of course, they will not have any privileged, channel. They will have everybody else.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It was important to clarify that single stages are open and competitive, and anyone provided they comply with the eligibility criteria can apply and be the first ranked in the evaluation. So there is no pre-identification of industry in this part. It is important.
No, and also, indeed, in the one stage, there can be more than one proposal. Of course, it will depend on how much the different proposal ask, because there is a finite amount of funding for each topic. It will depend on their eligibility. And of course, it will depend on the fact that they have to be good enough to pass the evaluation criteria. That I would think the most important. Please come with good proposals.
Okay, good recommendation, Elizabeth. Just apply with very good proposal. And sorry, but we have to stop here, this part.
Thank you.
People can follow the webinars. Thank you very much for your contribution, and we will proceed for the next part of the agenda. That is my colleague Marta de Diego, that is the head of the IHI Spanish delegation on the SRG. So please, Marta, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to share my presentation. Okay. Can you see it properly?
We can't see you. We need your video, but the presentation is okay.
Okay, my video, yes, I didn't. Okay, so now I think you can see me. So thank you, Marta. Thank you all the speakers, and I'm going to start with my presentation that aims to explain our role in IHI and how we can support you. As Pierre has already shown earlier, the States Representatives Group is an advisory group within the governance of IHI, and it's composed of representatives of member states and associated countries. The SRG is consulted and gives an opinion on a range of issues that including the draft work programs and the content of the codes. And also the SRG acts as an interface between IHI and relevant national or regional research and innovation programs to look for synergies. We are 3 people in the current Spanish delegation, Marta Gómez and myself from CDTI, and Marta Barrio Nuevo from the Instituto de Salud Carlos III. If you would like to contribute or give us your feedback about the initiative, please feel free to contact us, no? As also Pierre commented before. Regarding the support you can have in the health cluster of Horizon Europe, we are 3 people in the CDTI team, Marta Gómez Quintanilla, who is the Spanish delegate in the health cluster committee, and Carolina Carrasco and myself as national contact voice. I will support especially the participants in the IHI calls. The other 2 NCPs of the health cluster are Juan Riese and Marta Barrio Nuevo from Instituto de Salud Carlos III. So you have all this team, you can count on us, and we are here to support you. In the following slides, I have collected all past and upcoming events organized by IHI since the launch of the initiative. IHI publishes on its website the recordings and the presentation of these events, so you can find a lot of information there, so you can have a look of them. Concerning the call to 1 and 2 webinars, I'm going to go over them as Elisabetta has already addressed them, but I would like to highlight the webinar on IHI rules and procedures, which took place on 10 June. It was very comprehensive and many questions were answered. So I encourage you to watch it. And of course, also this new webinar that Elisabetta has announced for this financial part, that where you can address all the doubts with ICOP and IKA, that we know that is something new for all and it's generated many doubts. As far as national events are concerned, today's event is the first one. The recording and presentations will be available on the event website, as we have already informed you. And I would like to announce that on 14 July, we will have a specific working session to try to answer all your questions, especially not for people who intend to participate in the next calls. By then, the calls will be officially launched and we will have available all the documents, including the participants guides and templates. And of course, until the call deadline, will be available for bilateral meetings to check and to discuss your proposals. The submission of the IHI proposals will be also through the funding and tenders portal, like the regular Horizon Europe calls. So you have to go into it. You have a lot of information also there. And the portal includes an online manual which provides all the information and guidelines for submitting a proposal. So gives you all the instruction and guides in order to can go along all this process. Regarding our communication channels, our main means of communication is through the Horizon Europe Spanish portal, where you can find relevant information about the programs, news, events, useful links and relevant documents, and the national contact points. And we also encourage you to follow its different communication channels as Twitter, Telegram, LinkedIn, and RSS list to keep up to date. And finally, I would like to tell you about the NCP portal developed by the Bridge to Horizon project. Especially useful is the Academy section, where you can find many webinars on proposal preparation. So I also encourage you have a look to this portal, because you can find very useful information. And before finishing, I would like to recall you that yesterday the annual work program 22 was published. So although the call is not open yet until the end of the month, you can find in the annual work program the final test of the topics that includes the budgets and the predefined industry consortium in the two-stage course. So you can have a look and have all this information. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much for attention. We are at your disposal for any that you have. I recalled you this session on the 14th of July that will try to solve all your doubts once you have already gone through all the documents. So thank you very much, and I pass you the floor, Marta. Thank you.
Great. So you know now how it works, who's there, what opportunities for funding and for participation are to be open next week. We know how the rules and procedure will work, and we will have more details, not only in the webinars that IHI office is organizing, but also in the documents that will be published at the time of the IHI call publication. So we think that we have covered more or less what is needed for you to be active in this call and participate. But I would like to encourage you to contact us, as Marta said, if you need more information or if you need any clarification, or anyone that has offered its help during today's meeting. I would like also to thank very much all the associations present in this meeting. We are also collaborating here to help you, so don't hesitate in contact us, because we are working together to enhance your opportunities for success. So I think that we have covered more or less what we wanted. We will have another opportunity for questions and answers, as Marta said, just because we didn't have all the documents and we didn't have the time to read everything. But you will have the opportunity to interact with us directly, and we will try to do our best to answer everything. And I don't want to delay this more. Thank you very much. We will publish the recording and the slides. And if you have any more questions, don't hesitate in contact us. Thank you very much and see you in the calls. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.